Loving Superfoods, and I thought I'd show you how to make the creamy coconut chia pudding that we just use for everything right now. We started with chia pudding that was like a berry flavor. You'll see that recipe on our website. It's like water and chia seeds, and then add blueberries or something like that, and blend, and it makes a really delicious pudding. But once I started making it with coconut milk, like, oh my god, I can't go back. So what I do is I buy the So Delicious coconut milk. I really like these in a box because I can always have it in the pantry. I'm a real fan of just always having things on hand. If I feel like making fresh coconut milk with coconut flakes and water and then straining it through a nut bag, I can, but I don't have to. And same with you can also find the same brand in the refrigerated section in looks like a milk container. And you just have to keep it refrigerated. It's nice to have things that you can keep in the pantry and still be eating raw and superfoods and healthy and all that. So what the recipe calls for is 3.5 cups of coconut milk, and you could also do like part coconut milk, part almond milk, or like the first time I did it, I found hazelnut milk in the store, so I did hazelnut milk and coconut milk. The only thing I'll caution you on is that almond milk doesn't seem to gel the chia seeds quite as well as coconut milk. So I've been sticking with coconut milk ever since, and it's been awesome. So let me get a measuring spoon for the coconut milk. So I'm going to put the coconut milk into my container first. This is more than enough room for the chia pudding, but I'd like to have a little extra room for stirring. And if you put the coconut milk in first, then the chia seeds won't get stuck to the bottom. It's actually a little easier to blend them around. So I'm going to add in 3.5 cups of coconut milk. Okay, that, and then I have a 1/2 cup of chia seeds already poured out. They're the dry chia seeds, and I'm gonna actually kind of sprinkle it on top. I'll turn that so you can see it a little bit. So I'm just sprinkling it a little bit. That seems to help keep them from clumping too much. I'm gonna give you all my little secrets for keeping chia seeds from clumping too much. So they're spread kind of evenly across the top, and now I'm just going to take a spoon and stir it around a little bit. But they like to stick to the side too. And then anytime I have a big glump of chia seeds forming, I'm just going to try to break that up a little bit. And so this is just like an initial stir to make sure that all the chia seeds have contact with the liquid. The cool thing about chia seeds is they soak up 12 times their weight in any liquid, and they also tend to enhance the nutrient value of whatever they're soaked in. And that's part of the reason, well, it's mostly taste, but part of the reason that I switched over to the coconut milk version of chia seeds is all the nutrient value in the coconut milk is enhanced by the chia seeds versus just soaking them in water. There's not too much nutrient value in water to enhance. Anyway, that's kind of my rationale. Really, it tastes so much better. It's like super creamy, delicious, good. And the other thing I do sometimes, if I don't feel like making like a real sweet dessert, or I just don't feel like going all the way and making the chia pudding recipe, is I'll just do this. I'll just coconut milk and some chia seeds and stir them around a bit and let them sit in the fridge. And then I call this chia porridge instead of chia pudding, because it's more like something you could use as a replacement for oatmeal. You can just dress it up. You can do what I call a superfood bowl. So you could take this base of a coconut milk and chia seed gel and then add stuff to it, whether you blend it later or not. You could just scoop it out of this, put it in a bowl, add sliced banana and some walnuts, and there's breakfast. Or you could add cacao nibs, more coconut flakes, and some green chlorella tabs. I mean, just like the sky's the limit. There's so much you can do with it. And if you want it sweet, since this won't have any sweetener in it, then you could, pour some honey over the top. Or if you don't want it sweet, if you want it to be more like an oatmeal breakfast that isn't so sweet, then you don't have to have it that way. So that's my little superfood tip. But today we're going to make coconut chia pudding. We're going to go all the way with the recipe. And I'm actually going to take a break in filming because what this needs to do is, you can see there's a lot of coconut milk. That's, you can see there's a lot of coconut milk and then little pockets full of chia seeds, and they need a little time to gel. What they really need is, you can get away with probably 30 minutes tops, maybe 20 to 30 minutes. If you keep stirring it now and then, you can kind of do it quicker. And if you want to save time, you can just stir it like I've done, put it in the fridge and let it soak overnight, and then the next morning you've got more of a gel. The longer the sit, the more they gel. So it's nice if you can plan ahead, but you know, sometimes we kind of have life happen and other things going on. We don't have time to plan ahead. We want chia pudding now. So if that's the case, then just plan on 30 minutes of it soaking, and maybe set a timer and come back every 10 minutes and give it another stir. So we'll come back on the video once this is gelled, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, we're back. It's been probably about half an hour. So the chia seeds are a little more gelled. There's still a little bit of liquid in here. And we've got a little bit of clumping, not a lot, but a little bit. And rather than go through and try to break up every single clump, I'm just going to show you what I do with these. We're going to blend some of this gelled chia stuff with some sweetener and some coconut and cashew and cinnamon and salt. And let's see, I'm going to blend a cup of it. And so as I'm selecting the cup of this chia gel to be blended, to put in the blender, I'm going to sort out the bits. I'm going to spoon out the bits that have those more clumpy parts of chia seed in it, so they automatically get blended. And sometimes I dump it straight in the blender, but just for ease right now, I'm going to go from spoon to measuring cup, and I'm just kind of sorting through the bowl, almost like kind of culling across the top, or you can even, you know, stir it a little more with a spoon and just kind of feel for where there might be some clumps. So you don't have to get all clumps, but it does make it easier. And if you still have some clumps in here after you've gotten your cup that's going to be blended, that's okay. You can either break them apart with a spoon if you want to eat it right away, or just letting the chia pudding sit overnight or longer, you know, like an hour. The longer it sits, the more it's going to gel. And so even those clumps will start to separate more the longer that it sits. And in fact, if you have your chia gel sitting overnight, instead of just a half an hour, you have even fewer clumps, because there's been more time for the chia seeds to really more evenly soak up the liquid and be more dispersed. So the shorter it sits, the more likely you are to have some clumps. But when you're making the pudding version, that's okay, because it's all going to get blended up. Well, not all. A cup of it's going to get blended up, and you're just going to sort for that cup's worth of clumpy bits. And even now, I've got probably about a half a cup, and I've gotten most of the clumps. There's very few, and the clumps that are left are a lot smaller. So I'm not going to like search too hard for them now. Now I'm just going to concentrate on getting the cup's worth of chia gel. More stir just in case there's more in there. That's looking pretty good. Okay. Yeah, and you can, I'll tip this so you can see, you can tell that even, here's my cup, even the chia gel that's left is pretty evenly dispersed. You can see it's just looks like chia seeds and coconut. No clumpy bits. Alright, so here's my cup of chia gel, clumpy chia gel. And I'm going to add a quarter cup of sweetener. And we're out of vanilla agave nectar right now, sadly, but true, so I'm using honey, local raw honey. And I can use the measuring on the side of the blender for this rather than use another measuring scoop. So a quarter cup. So you can just add until the whole thing's gone up about a quarter cup. Twist and turn. And then sometimes I leave these out if I don't have them, but adding cashews at this point, or if you have a nut allergy, you could leave the cashews out. but it does add a little more creaminess, a little more fat, just a little more value to the chia pudding when you add cashews. And what I do is it's really good to soak your nuts in water to activate them and really remove the enzyme inhibitors and anti-nutrients that are in nuts. Once you soak them in water, that releases those qualities. It's almost like when you plant a nut in the ground and it gets water and then it'll start to grow, it releases all the things that stop it from growing. And so what I do is after I've soaked nuts, I rinse them off and then I just put them in the freezer. And so these are actually kind of still slightly frozen cashews. They've been sitting out while the chia pudding's been gelling. And they work great. The reason I don't keep them in the fridge is if you soak your nuts and then don't redehydrate them and put them in the fridge, they'll get moldy. Even though they're in the fridge, they'll get moldy within like maybe about a week. So let's see, quarter cup. Which I can just use this whole bag. What's left? Cashews. And then a half cup of coconut flakes. And because it's going to be blended, it doesn't matter what kind of coconut flakes they are. This happens to be a real fine, like kind of macaroon cut coconut flake. It could be the wide coconut flakes, any kind of coconut flakes, because it's going to get blended up. It really doesn't matter, as long as it's a raw coconut flake. And so half cup of coconut flakes. And then a quarter teaspoon of salt and a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon. The salt, it's like with most sweet things, the salt really helps to bring out the flavors. Plus you're getting some more nutrients, some more minerals from the salt. And the cinnamon, that tends to balance the sweetness. It makes it a little easier for your body to digest the sweetness. And it tastes really good. So, did I say quarter? Yeah, quarter teaspoon cinnamon. All right, and you could use anything you want. Like if I'm making a superfood bowl out of the chia pudding, sometimes I'll do like cinnamon and nutmeg, or ginger, like candied ginger, or gosh, what else did I put in there? Those are my favorites, I think. Cinnamon and nutmeg, and sometimes candied ginger. Anyway, but for the coconut chia pudding, this is the recipe, so we're going to follow that. All right, that's it. So now I'm going to blend this until it's creamy smooth. All right, and when I say creamy smooth, I should explain that there's a lot of fibrous stuff in here, so it's not super smooth, but there aren't any more chia seeds really. I mean, there's black specks, but it's really like a real thick paste is what you end up with. And then I'm going to just pour this right back in to the remaining chia gel that I have going here. Get every last bit of goodness, because this is where all the flavor is. It's all that sweetness from the honey and the salt and the cinnamon and coconut flakes and the cashews. So, come on now, every last drop, please. And save the bowl to lick, of course. Alright, and then it's thicker than the chia gel, so I'm just going to stir it around a little bit until it's all well dispersed. And I think I mentioned this before, but the longer this sits, the more thick and gel-like it'll become. But even now, that was about 30 minutes of the chia gel sitting and then pulling out the clumps. You can see that's about the right consistency for a chia pudding. And it may get thicker, well, it will get thicker than this. Oh, I found a clump. So I'm just going to, that clump that I found where it wasn't blended, I'm just going to press it against the side. Actually with the spoon, especially I can't quite get it. And then when I press it against the side, that breaks up the chia seeds that are clumping together enough that they can start to gel with the liquid. Alright, super simple. Now you could eat this right up just like it is. You can refrigerate it, in fact keep it in the refrigerator if you're not going to eat it right away. You can use it as a breakfast. It'll be sweeter than an oatmeal because this is the pudding version that has the honey added to it. But you could add fruit to it. Really, it's good any way you want it. The other thing I really like on top is bee pollen for a little bit of crunch and the floral flavor. Really good. In fact, that was one of my favorite cleanse treats, is when I was cleansing to help my digestion move. I would take some chia pudding or chia porridge in that case because I didn't want too much sweetness and too many fats, and then just put some bee pollen on top. Tasty. All right, that's it. Enjoy. One more thing I forgot to mention is that if you don't like tapioca pudding, if you don't like that kind of I hate to say it, but like that fish egg kind of texture, then you probably won't like chia pudding like this because it does have it has those little chia seeds in there that are in a nice little gel. Anyway, if you don't like that, I have a friend who didn't like that at all, but we found that if you blend the whole thing, not just that 1 cup of gel, but blend the whole thing, then it can get a creamier texture. It won't be completely creamy like a soft egg custard pudding, but it will be a lot creamier. Maybe just a little bit of grit, not too much, but if you're adding blackberries to it, it's not much different than like a blackberry seed. And then the other thing is, if you want to use chia pudding as an ice cream replacement, and just having it cold out of the fridge isn't cutting it and you want it really cold, I found that it works better to blend the whole thing, like I just said, and then put that in the freezer in a plastic container so it's easier for it to come out of the container. And don't put too much in the freezer because it doesn't have very much fat content, so it can get a little icy and it's harder to scoop out than traditional ice cream. Or if you want to play with it, you could add some more cashews to it to make a more fatty consistency, and it'll taste more like ice cream. But personally, just having this in the fridge tends to keep us away from craving ice cream in the first place. So that's it. Enjoy.